Hi. Hi, everyone. Happy Saturday. I'm hopping on today to do part 2 of hormonal migraines. I'm going to give it a minute, give people a chance to see that we're live and hop on. And I'm going to keep an eye on my phone here to see as people jump on and to monitor comments. So, how are we all doing? I know it's been a big week, a lot going on. We're not going to talk about that today. We're going to be talking about hormones. But yeah, let me know what your plans are this weekend. I know we're about halfway through Saturday. It's really nice. We have really nice weather here right now. So I know that I'm going to spend some time outside. It's going to be pretty low key for me because the kids are actually up north. Well, the whole family is up north at my mother-in-law's, taking care of some things there. And I'm here by myself, so it's kind of lonely. But I'll be joining them in not too long. And I'm kind of jealous because they're on the water right now and also have nice weather, even though they're up north. You know, the snow is all left, so it's warm again. It snowed, it got cold, and now it's back to about 20 degrees. So let's see if I can see myself. I cannot, but I'm gonna assume we're live, and hopefully I'll be able to see comments momentarily. All right, yes, there we are. All right, so let me know where you're watching from. If you're watching the replay, type hashtag replay. Let me know you're there. And you know what? If you, as you watch this video, whether it's the replay or you're watching live, at the end, if you can give me a thumbs up, if you can comment or let me know that you watched it, it actually, it helps me know that this is something that you're interested in, that you want more of it. And also it actually helps me out because Facebook prefers, you know, the algorithms work so that they'll show the video to more people. They'll make sure other members of the group see that it's there, the more people that are commenting and posting. So if you can do me that favor, that would be amazing. So before I get into it, I do want to remind you that on Tuesday, this coming Tuesday, November 10th at 7 p.m., I'll be hosting my masterclass. And it's for anyone who wants to learn about how to get control over their migraines long term. I'll be explaining how the things that we're taught about how to manage migraines can actually be making things worse for us. So I'll be going through what kinds of things those are and also what we can be doing instead. So for anyone who doesn't know me, I'm Julie Gravel, a registered holistic nutritionist and functional nutrition educator and the founder of the Migraine Resilience Method. So essentially, I help busy women improve their migraines through natural methods and without having to deprive themselves of, you know, all the foods they love and all the activities they love. We find ways to do that in a way that gets them long-term results and is natural and can be fun because you get more motivated the more improvements and progress that you make. So, you know, it's funny because when I ask women what they want, often they will say to me that they just want to feel normal. And it's really my goal, though, to help women feel amazing again, not just normal, and actually enjoy their lives. So, okay, I have low battery. That's okay. If I lose it, I can still check comments here. So in part 1 of hormonal migraines, I shared how the reproductive hormone imbalances can actually be to blame for migraines related to our cycle or perimenopause or menopause. And then some of the reasons we might have those imbalances in the first place. So I mentioned how building our resilience and living below our migraine threshold can also help to ensure that normal hormone fluctuations throughout the month don't trigger a migraine attack. If you haven't already listened to part 1, I encourage you to do that either before or after listening to this one. So let me know in the comments, if you listened to part 1, what did you think? Was it eye-opening? Let me know if you learned something new. Because I know that a lot of people, they don't think about these things, they don't know about these things. So the things that from part 1 that I do want to recap for you is, number 1, stress affects our blood sugar and it shuts down digestion. Also, stress and digestive function affect estrogen dominance. So this shows how interconnected that everything is, which might make it seem complicated. But in my view, it simplifies things quite a bit, because despite all the symptoms and health issues you may be dealing with, it usually comes down to just a few key roots that are underlying all of it. And then if we can address those roots in the right way, rather than continuing to band-aid each symptom one by one, we can actually kill two birds with one stone, so to speak. So now I want to talk about the role of digestion. I mentioned that one a few times, but I didn't really get into it in part one, but it's a really important piece of the puzzle. So, and here's a hint, it is one of those key roots. So basically, many things can cause digestive issues, and it's usually a combination of factors like stress, medications, a poor diet. We have millions of microorganisms living in our small intestine and our large intestine, and we need to maintain the right balance of the good to bad bacteria there, or we run into problems. So our inside and outside, so inside our body, so we have our digestive tract, and we always think of that as inside our body, but in fact, anything we put in our mouths remains outside of our body until a certain point. There's this thin layer of cells that actually divide our undigested food and poop from our bloodstream or the rest of our body. And when the balance of good and bad bacteria are off, or they're out of whack in our gut, then our gut can actually become inflamed. It causes the walls of the small intestines to become leaky, and it starts letting things through into our body that it shouldn't, like undigested food and toxins. So it can also actually, having poor digestion can contribute to constipation, and that allows for the toxins that are in our colon to just sit there for too long, and then we start to actually reabsorb the toxins that we're trying to eliminate. Those toxins can actually have a chance to reabsorb into our body, and that's what we don't want. So both these things actually lead to inflammation in the body, because our immune system's responding to those, foreign things. The inflammation affects the glands that produce our hormones, like our liver and our adrenal glands, and our liver in particular gets overburdened trying to process the toxins and undigested food particles. And, when our liver can't keep up, we start to experience symptoms from the toxins. They can be very subtle. They can come on gradually, so we might not even notice. All of a sudden, we might be noticing or not noticing that we're just more tired. We have more aches and pains. We can't think as clearly. And if we do happen to notice these symptoms, we might just chalk it up to aging or something like that, which is too bad, because we don't have to be feeling that way. So toxins also, they tend to accumulate in fatty parts of our body. And that is one reason that we can be experiencing weight gain and low energy, because our body is trying to prevent us from burning that fat. So if our metabolism is high, then we'll be burning fat, and those toxins will be getting released. And if those toxins get released, we start to feel sick because our liver can't process them all. So it's really this cycle. And even our brain, if we think of our brain, our brain is made up of 60% fat. So we may be storing toxins there, the toxins that our body couldn't get rid of. So let me know in the comments if that makes sense. If you have questions, let me know. I know that this can get a bit sciencey, it can get a little bit complicated, but just stick with me. So now I'm going to remind you again, I say this all the time, but the migraine brain likes balance. We want to be making sure that we're doing everything we can to decrease the influence of hormonal imbalances and even those normal fluctuations that we get throughout our cycle on our migraine attacks. So to address imbalances like the estrogen dominance or estrogen deficiency, we have to be looking at the health of the digestive system. And as I mentioned, that includes the liver, it includes the small intestine and the colon. And of course, we need to find ways to effectively manage the stress response and sugar imbalance. So now I'm going to give you 5 ways to support hormones, with the caveat being that, doing all these things as part of a greater strategy and with somebody that can actually guide you through it will get you, faster results, better results. You'll be more likely to figure out what exactly you need to be doing and tweaking to be able to get to the goal that you want. But otherwise, just be careful not to treat these tips as quick fixes. So when you start doing something new, you might not notice a change right away. Just give it some time though. Don't stop and start something else. Keep it up, unless, of course, it's making you feel significantly worse or making you feel worse, and then you need to adjust. But the best way is actually to just keep layering things on. So rather than jumping from one thing to the next, keep up what you've been doing. It does get easier. It feels hard at first, but if you can do it, you can keep it up, then you can just keep bringing in new things. And yeah, that's the only real hesitation I have about giving these tips I'm about to give, is that in this format, through Facebook and just sharing them to you when we can't have a two-way conversation, especially, and outside of the program and all of that, it's just that in case if you get discouraged, or you're not seeing those results, then it's easier to just jump off of it, and then you don't experience the results that match your effort, and it can be really frustrating. So here we go. Tip number 1 is to increase your intake of essential fatty acids. So we want to increase those anti-inflammatory omega-3s in particular, and you know what? Flax seeds are amazing for hormone health. So if you can add even like 2 tablespoons a day into your smoothie or into your oatmeal of ground flaxseed, you'll want to make sure that it doesn't go rancid. That's one issue with flax, is you want to make sure that you're storing it properly, grind it right before you use it, or like be keeping it in the fridge or the freezer, and use it up. Don't leave it for too long before using it. Tip number 2 is to make sure that you're getting adequate amounts of protein. So protein is actually, building blocks of hormones. So a lot of times, like women especially, we're under eating protein, like we're not getting enough, and that can affect our hormones. So we want to make sure we're eating things like cold water fish and organic chicken, and vegetarian sources. Really good vegetarian sources of protein are quinoa and lentils and beans. So we definitely want to be making sure we're getting the fats, those healthy fats, and the proteins. And then number 3 is to eat brassica vegetables like kale, broccoli, and Brussels sprouts. Not everyone's favorites. I really enjoy them now. I didn't always, Brussels sprouts were not my go. Surprisingly, my kids do. My daughters always loved Brussels sprouts. Not the super bitter ones, of course, but when they weren't bitter, she's always eaten them, and it always surprised me. But all this to say, it's try to get in your brassica vegetables, and they are actually very important for liver health. It helps the liver to do its job better. It helps it to do its job of detoxifying things and to transforming things and producing hormones and all of that. So if you can get them a few times a week, that's great. Tip number 4 is to get enough magnesium. We've talked about magnesium before for migraine. It's something that relaxes things. So we do want to make sure that we're getting it through our food. Oftentimes we do need to supplement too, though, because a lot of us tend to be deficient in magnesium because of certain, diet and lifestyle things. So magnesium can reduce hormone-related headaches, and also been shown to improve a lot of those symptoms that we get with menstruation, like cramping, because it relaxes, right? So cramping, it helps with water retention, and it helps with cravings. It's also a mild laxative. So if you watched the live that I did on magnesium, you learned about the different types of magnesium supplements, and then which have a greater laxative effect and which have milder laxative effect, but they all have some kind of effect on that, and some more than others. So depending on if your issue is constipation, then you may want to take a certain form of magnesium supplement. So you can watch that live. Let me know if you need help finding it in the comments, and I can help you find that so that you can watch. And the last tip that I have for you today is to get quality sleep. And it's essential, basically, it's because that sleep is so essential for good hormone balance. It works on a cycle too. So you have cortisol, your hormones are rising and falling, helping us feel more sleepy versus more awake, basically. So getting good sleep helps us to keep our stress levels down. So again, with those cortisol spikes and dips, that helps with stress during the day when we sleep well. And it also, should be a top priority for balancing those hormones. So those are the tips I have for you today. I hope you'll be able to implement some of them for yourself and start to see some improvements. Remember what I said in part 1 about starting to track your cycle, track your migraines associated with your cycle, and then in the week leading up to when you normally get a migraine, it's usually day 1 of your period. For a lot of people, it's day 1. For that week before, just try to be very careful about how you're doing things. If you're going to choose any time of the month, if you get hormonal migraines, if you're going to choose any time of the month to try to like be at your best or do all the things that you know help you and know make you feel your best, do it in those 7 days before. So for example, the things that I do that I'm not always sticking to perfectly, but I notice a real difference when I do it, is going to bed by 10:30 at night, waking up at the same time in the morning, reducing your consumption of sugar and inflammatory foods, stepping up your mindfulness practices, even anything that you feel can help you bring your stress response down. Do that every day in the week leading up to your regular time where you would be getting a migraine or having those hormone fluctuations. Also, move your body. So do some form of exercise every day. Definitely getting out for a 30-minute walk outside, as well as some kind of weight bearing or more intense, not really intense, but moderately intense exercise. Because in that week leading up, you might have lower energy levels too in the few days leading up. So adjust your exercise to your energy levels for sure, but get some movement in. All right, so one more reminder, if you want to learn more about what's holding you back from improving your migraines and how to get long-term results so you can finally be free from all those awful symptoms that you experience for multiple days every month, so you can get back to a joyful life and even beyond feeling just normal again, then register for my masterclass. Type me in the comments if you're interested, and I will send you a link to register. Thanks for listening. That is all I have for you today. Okay, bye.